Sorpresa! It's me, your favorita, Amanda Peguero, here for Love Shouldn't Hurt. So today I have the amazing pleasure of being your host, and I get to question Ms. Vega on all the things related to her emotional and mental journey. But before we get into all of that great stuff, remember that if you are suffering or are a victim of domestic violence, you can always call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800 799 7233. So, without further ado, today's not about me. I know she likes to give me this long introduction and how about I'm like La Fiera Dominicana. So, let me introduce her today. Today, I have the honor of being the host of Love Shouldn't Hurt and having all the 21 questions for Miss Christina Vega, the founder of Love Shouldn't Hurt. And she is an amazing woman that sits here every week and tells you guys about how to be strong, how to talk about this topic, how to go out and do things that it was really hard at some point for her to do. So today we're going to dig into that brain and see, what was she thinking? What was she feeling? And eventually, like, what happened? What made things change a little bit for her? But today's going to be a little different than what we usually talk about because today we're going to talk about I like to call it the invisible scars, the invisible abuse, the things that people don't actually see, but sometimes it's happening from the very beginning of a relationship and nobody's talking about it, particularly not the individual who's suffering with it. So before we get into all of this, let's bring her beautiful face onto the screen. Everyone, let's welcome our founder, Christina Vega.
I'm laughing the whole time.
As you should, because that was a bomb introduction.
It was a bomb introduction, but I'm not used to being on this side, so I'm like, "Wepa."
I know, right? So get ready, because
I'm
listen,
ready. I'm
she
ready.
has no idea how long I've been waiting to be on this side. Because today I
Sweating.
don't have to be a therapist. Today I don't have to be a clinician and the mental health, know it all. I'm not the mental health know it all, but the mental health mind, I will be a little bit. But I get to be someone who just asks you some questions that maybe some viewers have and haven't really shared before, or also to just get a perspective of you from you about some other things that we don't always talk about. So, as we get into this, my first question to you is like when you think about talking about this topic, what was the first thing that came up for you?
When I think about talking about my past or just mental abuse, or you got to be specific with me,
Just
you know.
yeah, you know what? I should have known
Conmigo
better.
tiene que tener.
So when you think of like I want to call it for right now the invisible scars,
Okay.
right? Because the emotional and the mental abuse are not things that people physically see. Most people think of
Right.
domestic violence, right? And they think that it's like you're getting your eyes blacked out,
Yeah.
you're getting bruises on your body.
Hmm.
In the past, we've even talked about like the financial abuse,
Hmm.
which is also invisible, right? A lot of people don't get to see that. But the emotional and the mental, when you think about talking about your emotional and mental abuse that you suffered, what comes up for you?
How much longer I dealt with that than I did with my physical abuse. I always, when I think about everything that I've been through in my past, and people are always like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that this happened to you, and he hit you this way, and you broke this bone or that bone." I think about it, and I think to myself, because it's so long ago, it seems like it was such a short time. 6 years is a long time, but it felt like such a short time in comparison to the abuse that no one else saw in my relationships that followed. So I think of
Okay.
it was longer, and I don't really talk about it because we focus on the physical abuse so much.
Now that you're on the other side of it, do you ever look back at like other relationships that maybe you didn't at the time identified as DV relationships? And do you see some of that emotional and like verbal stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, I think now because of the place that I'm in, just because of what I do for Love Shouldn't Hurt, it's allowed me to look back and say, "Wow, I was in it in a lot of different relationships." Because when I first started this journey and I would talk, I only spoke about the physical because to me, it was like that's when I was getting beat. Like that was really bad. And then as I further educated myself, which is, why we do this platform, as I continued to further educate myself, I was like, wow, I was in a lot of abusive relationships. And the funny thing is that I've had a guest on here before, a mutual friend of ours. And she actually stated this. I was looking at previous shows, kind of just looking. I always look at old shows to kind of see what we've talked about in the past. And she says in one of them that I was a prime target for my physical abuser because prior to me being physically abused, I was already accepting abuse in a lot of different forms in a lot of other relationships. And after the fact, now that I think back to it, I'm like, she's right. There was a lot of abuse that I had already endured that I just didn't consider at the time domestic violence because I wasn't educated on the topic.
Gotcha. And then with that being said, do you feel like those relationships you recognize that in the moment, or do you feel like it's just post now that you see it and you say, yeah, I was in a first step, let's call it that, like a first step of a DV relationship that could potentially would have been worse for me.
So at the time, no, I didn't recognize it. At the time, I was really young with those relationships. So at the time, I just thought that was natural. Actually, I just thought, oh, that's how people get when they're upset, and that's how relationships
Mhm.
are. This is typical. Then I went through the physical abuse. That ended, and I started dealing with the mental and emotional abuse. And again, until I started this organization, as honest as I can be, I still had no idea that I was being abused. To me, it was just, well, that's just that person's character, and that's just how they talk. That's just how they are. Now that I'm in this position, I'm like, damn, a lot of people were like really doing their thing with me. And I had no idea.
So with the physical stuff, we know that like you didn't share or anything,
Mhm.
right? Did you ever find a time that you did share some of this thing and someone else in your life like called it out and you still weren't like receptive to like, no, that's not abuse? Like, was there ever a time that, let's say, I'm going to use myself. Just hypothetical. I, I'm your friend. I see you and I go, I really don't like the way he talks to you, the way you say he demeans you, or the way that seems kind of problematic. Did you ever have someone in your life that shared that with you, and you yourself are still like, with the what's it, como dicen, the rose-colored glasses, and they're like, no, he loves me. Like, what are you talking about?
Absolutely. During that time, and even most recently, during that time, I would make excuses for it. Like they would be like,
Okay.
that's odd that like he doesn't come to anything with you, and that's odd that like why are you always home by yourself? Like where is he? I made a million excuses for it. Oh no, he does this and he does that. And most recent, like in my most recent relationships, at the beginning there was a lot of things that I was excited about that relationship, and I was like, oh my god, these things are similar. And then as the time went on, I had close friends say to me like, I don't, that's not healthy. And I would just be like, what do you mean? Like, no, that's just how he is. And even like in that most recent, and to this day, I'm just like, damn, how did I not realize that? Or how didn't I see what they saw? But, again, I had those rose colored glasses because at the beginning, I was so like into this person that I had no idea
Mhm.
that, wow, he mimicked a lot of the characteristics of that person who was so abusive to me in the past.
I like hearing that from you because I think a lot of times from the outsider looking in, and you've said this a million
Hmm.
times on your show, right? Like we can clearly see it.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
this is not like a glass half full type of situation. This is
Hmm.
a glass super almost empty and you're totally still being drained and there is
Yeah.
no connection for you as a person who's living in it to see it, because sometimes
Yeah.
we just kind of go around with those blinders,
Yeah.
right? And we want to see the best in the person. When you say you justified it, right? Did you justify it to cover for them, or did you justify it to cover for yourself?
I justified it to cover for them. I say that because I found myself in every relationship that I've gotten into my whole life. I have wanted, we have the same circle of friends, right? So we see how relationships around us are, and we see how, how this family is together and they're good, and how this relationship is together and they're good. And it's like mother, a father, and a kid, mother, father, and a kid. I always wanted that. So I always made justifications for what they did because to me, I wanted them to like them. So I didn't want them, like, I wanted that. I wanted the fact that, oh, I love being around you and your husband and your kids and we hang out together. I wanted that too. I wanted my friends to like this person that I was with or my family. So I justified their behavior so that maybe if I just said, oh, no, that's just how he is, my friends won't get mad at him or my friends won't be rude to him when they see him and things like that.
Did you ever find yourself tired of doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
120% yes. Because you know what? I think that, and it's a shame because everything kind of falls back onto my most recent relationship because I think that's why it ended and why I finally was like, I'm done. because I was so tired in my most recent relationship that I was like, I'm tired of covering. I'm tired of trying to get my friends to like him. He is not, it's not worth it. What he's putting me through, the stress that he's putting me through, the pain that I'm going through, it's not worth it. Like, I'm really trying to get them to like him for what? Like, what am I really getting from this relationship? And I think that
Mhm.
you don't notice it until after. Like, I spent so many nights out thinking back and I'm like, what the hell? Like, it was there the whole time. All of these things that are negative about him have always been there. It's not like they just showed up. I just didn't see them at the beginning. And it was like the end, I was like, oh yeah, you gotta go. Like, no, but yeah, yeah.
So as you say that, right? So it's clear that you went through a journey.
Hmm.
You went through the honeymoon stage.
Hmm.
Everyone has that, like, oh, infatuation and the lust and
Hmm.
the attraction, both,
Hmm.
mental, emotional, and sexual.
Right.
Um, and then there's somewhere where that kind of starts to decline,
Yeah.
right? Do you find that when that started to decline, you started to notice and see signs of the toxicity in the relationship? Or do you find that you were still in the honeymoon stage and they had moved past the other stage, and hence you then justified a lot of the things that they were doing, or you made an excuse for all the things that they were doing?
Yeah. So I definitely was justifying them and still trying to be in that sweet phase, and they were past it. They were way past
Mhm.
it. Like they had already gotten past I'm showing you a fake person, and they were being who they were. But I was still trying to cover it up and make it good because I guess I just wanted it to be good when it wasn't. But they had already
Got
been
it.
past it. They had already been past it.
So I find this interesting, right? Because you're an individual who's a face of a domestic violence organization, and you work really hard to bring awareness to this. And I think that you're speaking on something that's making it real, right? That just
Mhm.
because you have been through this and you can recognize it in relationship A, B, C, D, or Z, right?
Mhm.
That you will no longer potentially be, what did you say earlier, that you were a target? It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you won't be a target for someone who has the tendency to be abusive in relationships,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's happening, if anything, is that you have to be more alert, is what I'm hearing,
Yes.
right? You have to be more
Mhm.
alert, because then the changes that this person is going to show you eventually, you have to be able to not be in stage one of the honeymoon and all of that stuff, while they're slowly creeping up and showing you their roots, right?
Yeah.
Because we always say, right, when you meet a person for the first time in any setting, they bring their representative.
Yeah. Mhm.
So representative is always, if I envision the representative like in a decked out dress or a decked out three-piece suit with a tie, fresh cut. I mean, the lines are everything, nice beard, or the flyest clothes, the flyest shoes, the flyest cartera, like whatever, right? This person
Mhm.
is coming to represent to the best. And they will continue to represent because they're in the attraction stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But but the tricky question to me for you is do you think that they do show signs even in that stage, in the attraction stage? Do you ever look back and say, I should have been able to see those small little um signs of potential emotional or verbal abusive, like, I don't want to call them symptoms, but like signals.
Yeah.
Signals is the word.
Absolutely. I was engaged maybe 9 years ago. I was engaged to a gentleman. And when I was with him for 4 years. And when I first started dating him, he didn't have any friends, no friends. So I became his life, his world. Like, it was all about Christina all the time. And it was cute, right? It was cute at first, like, oh my God, he always wants to be with me. But then as time went on, it was like if my friends called and wanted to go somewhere, it was like, why? Like, you have a boyfriend now. You don't, there's no reason for you to go out. As if going out meant I was always going to look for someone and not just go out just for
Hmm.
fun. But I didn't, I see that now. Then I didn't see it. At that time, I was like, oh, Bendito, he just wants to be with me. He wants to spend time with
Hmm.
me. But then as time went on, it got super creepy and I still didn't notice it. Like, for instance,
Hmm.
I remember going across the bridge to a flea market with a really close friend of mine, and he called me and he said, "Be careful in Jersey." And I had never told him where I was going that day. So I was just like, "Oh, okay, great, thank you." And I hung up. We went on with our day, and maybe like halfway through our day, I was like, I never told him where we were going. How does he know where I am? And then maybe like weeks later, it happened again. I went somewhere and he was like, "Oh, have a good time." And let's just say New York. I don't remember, but let's say have a good time in New York. And I was like, "Thank you." And I hung
Mhm.
up and I'm like, wait a minute, but I didn't tell him that I was going to New York either. And then as time went on, I was like, what is going on? And I never questioned him on it because I was like, oh, he's just concerned. And then I found out at the time, I guess now it's like you can check in like on your like through iPhone and stuff like that. But back then it was like Find My Friends, but like some other app. Like now it's on our phone as Find My
Mhm.
Friends. But there was
Mhm.
like this app that you could find your friends. He had installed it on my phone and I had no idea that he installed it on my phone. And then when I found the app, I was like, I didn't sign up for this. And I questioned him and he was like, oh, that's just to make sure that you're safe. If you're ever
Mhm.
anywhere, then you're safe. And I didn't get that it was really just him trying to know where is she at this time. And as time went on, it just made me uncomfortable. So I deleted the app from my phone. But then he kept knowing where I was. And then
Mhm.
right before we broke up, I was getting, oddly enough, my daughter's father was fixing my brakes on my car and found a GPS in my car. He had GPS to my car. So he realized that I deleted the app. So he put the GPS on my car. And that's when it started to become very creepy for me. Like,
Yeah.
okay, something's really wrong. Like if I took the app off my phone, why is there a GPS on me? And then I started to see different things and I would have conversations with him. And then I stopped going out with people less because every time I did, he got really, really angry. Like when I came home, he had an attitude and then the arguments started happening. Like, why do you need to be in the street? Why do you have someone here? You don't need to
Mhm.
go anywhere. And then it was like, okay, then I won't go out. And then I started separating myself from friends and separating myself from doing anything because I was too scared to like piss him off. Um, so I feel like I should have seen the signs at the time, but I didn't until it got to the end when it was like no more. And I caught something in his phone. And that night was the first time that relationship became abusive. And I was like, you got to go. Like he literally choked me up against the garage and was like, he was waiting for me to lose my breath and I kicked him. And that was like it for me. But at the end of it, I was like, why didn't I see this? Like when he choked me that day, I was like, why didn't I realize this man like
Mhm.
was seriously trying to abuse me? Like I didn't get it at the time because I just thought it was cute. He has no other friends, but he loves being with
Mhm.
me. But it really wasn't that. He really was like trying to take ownership of me.
Mhm. So, as you're talking about this relationship, a couple things came up to me. So definitely it was like that slow isolation, right? That
Mhm,
slow like
mhm.
getting you to like want to, it sounds like, again, protect him. No, I'm not sure if it was protect him or protect your friendships from having judgments on him,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And then also, I'm wondering if you could share what language. So you shared the behavior, but what languages were used? Like what words were used, and so that we can connect it more to that emotional and that verbal. Like, what would he say that made you like concerned? Maybe not in the moment, but now you look back and you were like, it was slowly like molding me to lose my self esteem, to affect the way that I looked at my relationships. Because one
Oh
thing that
yeah,
popped up when you were talking to me is, how sometimes, I mean, I've heard it like, oh, well, your friend is your friend's a hoe, and if you go out with her, that means you doing
you're
hoe
gonna be
stuff, right?
considerate. Yeah,
Correct, because like birds of a feather flock together,
yeah.
right? But if your friend is a santa, then there was something else that maybe that they would find. So what kind of like verbiage would they like? And it doesn't have to be just this relationship, but in any of your relationship, what kind of things would they say that you now look back and you're like, I should have not allowed that, or I should have not continued on that journey with this person because they were demeaning me just with their words.
Right. So with that one in particular, I have always, I think, let me say this before I go. I share too much. When I say that, I share a lot of my insecurities. I share a lot of the things that make me feel bad about myself. And I think as I'm getting older, I'm getting better with that. I'm getting better in trying to keep it to myself. Still working on it, but getting better with trying to work on it because I realized that I was giving them ammo. They were realizing, oh, she doesn't like this about herself. Okay, she doesn't like that about herself. Okay. And
Mhm.
those, like that verbiage was always used. Like I have always fluctuated in my weight. So he would constantly, before I leave, be like, "Oh well, you shouldn't wear that. You te parece gorda en ese, con la ropa que tiene. Like you look really fat in that shirt. You shouldn't wear that." And it would be like a form fitting shirt. So I would be like, "What?" So I would go and change my clothing, and I didn't realize then I've always had a big issue Not that I'm going to show you, but I've always had. I have a baby tooth. I'm 42, and I still have a baby tooth in my mouth that makes one
Me
of
too.
it makes one of my teeth stick out. So he knew that I hated it because I felt like I had goofy teeth, but it was something that
Mm,
I would joke about, but I was serious. Like since I was little, people used to make fun of me about it. So he would tell me, "Oh, you need to get braces. You need to get braces. Like you're going out here with all this makeup and this clothing on, but you need to get braces because your teeth are terrible." Like so, it hid my smile. Like I never smile. People now see me in pictures and they're like, "You show all your teeth," and I'm like, "Yeah," because I spent years not showing them because I was so like defensive about my mouth, like I would always do
mhm,
duck teeth, duck lips when I would take pictures just to not show my teeth. So when I'd be going out, he would tell me, you look fat in that shirt. You should wear something else. But really, it was because I did look good. He didn't want me to look the way that I look. So he would say, that shirt no te ve bien, no te parece bien. Like you need to take that off. You look fat. You're always talking about how big you are. That shirt makes you look fat. And I would listen to him and I would go and I would cover myself up. And he would talk about my teeth. So back then you see me in pictures and I would never smile because
mhm,
your teeth are terrible. You need to get your teeth fixed.
yeah.
In most recent relationships, my weight has always been an issue for me. So my most recent relationship, that was one of our biggest issues. That was part of the words that he always was saying, maybe you need to get to the gym. When I started to find out he was cheating, well, maybe if your body looked like her body, I wouldn't, maybe if I felt more attracted to you, you need to work on your body and then I'll be attracted to you again. And I literally went through phases, even with my initial abuse, that, you know, I started taking diet pills because I was like, I need to get skinny. I need to get skinny. So much to the fact that I was driving one day and I had to pull over and I was laying on the grass because I literally, my hands were closed up. I couldn't control them because the pills had taken control over me. Like my heart was beating fast. I thought I was having a heart
Mhm,
attack. My hands were closed. I couldn't hold the wheel anymore. I was like this on the ground. And it was all because of these pills. But I was so obsessed with my weight. I stopped eating completely. I took these
mhm,
pills and I didn't realize what it was in that time. To me, it was just I'm trying to make my man like me again. I'm trying to make him. But people
mhm,
don't realize that in that moment, people just think, oh, it's just I'm not in an abusive relationship because he's not hitting me. But they don't realize how much this person is bringing your self-esteem down. I say it all the time. Emotional and mental abuse that I've dealt with has followed me further in my life than my physical abuse because that goes away. The things
yeah,
and the verbiage that they use have stayed up here and I repeat them to myself. And
yeah.
I don't know if that'll ever go away.
So we have some of our viewers that love being here with you. And Teresa said, you should be able to share always. And if you can't, they are not your people. And then she also said, FOH, which everybody knows what that means, a F out of here. And then she also wanted you to know that you are beautiful from the inside and out, and God bless you.
Oh,
So I think that one of those things is that they do connect to your insecurities. And as
yeah.
confident as anybody is, we all have some sorts of insecurity. It might not be physical, right? It might not just be our weight. It might be your intellect. It might be your career choices. It really can be in all aspects. And if that person wants to use that to affect the way that you feel about yourself, they're going to use it. So, yes,
Yeah.
hey, Liz, it is the worst. Some people think that I love that Liz said that, right? Because a lot of people only consider domestic violence the moment someone takes their body and uses it to hurt your body.
Yeah.
And the reality is that domestic violence is emotional, mental, physical, financial.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Verbal,
Yeah.
right? It is someone who consistently wants to control, demean, and basically destroy you. It doesn't have to mean, and it doesn't have to be long term. All it takes is one time. All it takes is one time for that person to want to affect you and who you are and how you feel about yourself. But I think that's something you said, Christina, was that, you know, you felt comfortable. This is a relationship that you are entering in. So you're trying to be vulnerable and you're trying to share of yourself and you're trying to say to them like something as simple as like, I haven't always loved my teeth, right? Because I have this situation going on where my baby tooth is poking out the other one. And then in a moment of not so kind or disagreement, they go to things that hurt, right? And I've said this a million times, hurt people hurt. But even if you're angry, you shouldn't have to demean me.
Mhm.
You should not have to bring you down. And I think that that's something that a lot of folks don't realize. So thank you for sharing so far. I think you've been very vulnerable throughout this entire process of Love Shouldn't Hurt from the beginning till now. But I'm wondering for you, let's take the person out of this. Did you ever find yourself sitting and knowing, right? Knowing body and mind, like this isn't right for me,
Mhm.
and and saying, yeah, I need to get out of this, but not getting out of it. And if you did, right? What were some of the things you were saying to yourself to stay?
Um, Again, my most recent relationship, I knew that lasted 6 years. I knew maybe in year two that it wasn't a relationship for me. I knew that although I loved the person and I wanted to be with them, I knew it wasn't healthy. I knew the conversations weren't healthy. I knew that the behavior wasn't healthy. But I said to myself constantly, if I leave him or break up with him, here I am yet again failing at another relationship. Here I am going through the same motions, going back to my friends, like, yeah, this didn't work out again. Yeah, I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
and then being 110% transparent, I started this organization still going through that. And I was afraid to be a failure doing what I do. I was afraid for
Okay.
people to be like, she just dealt with all this stuff too. And I think it's why I always am very honest and say, I wear this invisible crown and people think that I'm perfect and that I don't go through anything. And it's not, because this organization is for awareness and it's to help people get through this journey together. But I'm not perfect in any way. I'm not like healed from life and I'm just this amazing individual.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
come a long way. I'm in a better place in my life. But as you said, there's still going to be people who know what you went through and still put you through
Mm-hmm.
it because
Mm-hmm.
they're like, maybe I can just get past her because of this. So yeah, 110%. I was in that relationship, and maybe year two of a 6-year relationship, I knew it wasn't where I needed to be, but I was embarrassed to yet again fail at another relationship.
Embarrassment and shame are two emotions that are very dangerous because they're
Mhm,
self-inflicted, right?
mhm,
Someone else doesn't really kind of like, people can embarrass you and can shame you, but
mhm,
when you do it to yourself, it is a very dangerous thing to go through. So
mhm,
Teresa again said, we make so many excuses for folks and even ourselves. And I just want to say there is too much accessible knowledge to continue acting a fool. And that point, it's a choice, period. Right? So I like this, Teresa. Thank you for all your commentary. I really enjoy it because the reality is that we know that. We
yeah.
know that. And you just said it. You just said it. I started this organization. We all know you started after your experience with Linda. And I know that even after that, for you to share right now that you were going through some troubles
Mhm,
but weren't ready. And we say this all the time. You have to find that place where you're ready. So
mhm,
kudos to you to push through that. And I'd also like to say kudos to you to be honest on here because a lot of times people think, well, I got out of that and my life is all together. And the
mhm,
reality is that sometimes you still need help. So on that
mhm.
cue, if you do need help and you aren't sure, you just need to call. I love what Christina says. You can call and you just say you want to order a pizza.
Mhm,
And you can call the National DV hotline at 1-800-799-7233. And you can just talk to someone. You don't have to make a decision. You don't have to make a commitment in that moment. Just start the conversation. Start the conversation with someone who is not connected to you, who is unbiased, who is there to support you and is not there to judge you, to kind of give you the tools that you need. Because, like Teresa said, the knowledge is out there. We just need to take it and then put it into action and how it fits into our life. So once again, 1-800-799-7233. So like you love to say, we at that we made it a half an hour, girl. And not for nothing, y'all. I think I'm doing a fabulous job, but I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. But I think that something that's important about this journey that you've been through, and I'm glad that you shared it tonight, is that it is a work in progress. Tomorrow, you're hoping that the next relationship is better than the next. And would you
mhm.
say that? Would you say that you've learned something from one relationship to the next?
Yeah.
And if so, can you share at least one thing that you feel like you've grown in within yourself into either recognizing the signs or even just being able to step away from it?
So I'll say that one thing that I have gotten from all of them, I think from every single one, I learned something. Every single one.
Okay.
Um, I think my initial abuse just taught me how to be an adult because I was so young when I went through that. I ended up getting pregnant. So I had to become an adult real fast. Like, all right, listen, you went past this, but now you got a baby to raise. So I had to like quickly not forget it, but kind of like push it to the side because I had a child to raise, so that it taught me very quickly to become an adult. As I went on to other relationships and I went through, with the person I was engaged to and his possessiveness and trying to choke me and the craziness, I moved on to other relationships where the cheating was just consistent. It was just lies. And I stayed and I stayed and I stayed. And then with my most recent relationship, like I said, I stayed because I was just afraid to fail. Um, I think now what I've taken from that is that these relationships were not failures to me, honestly, because I think that I'm a different Christina because of them. And I said this just recently because people were like, "You're happy you went through the abuse?" No, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
happy I went through the abuse, but I am grateful because I went through it because I'm a different person. I'm not the strongest person. I still have insecurities. I still have things that even this chick right in front of the screen wants to punch me for. I still have lessons, lessons that I need to learn, but I am absolutely a stronger individual. I know now, like, it's not even worth it to stay because you think it failed. Who the hell cares? Relationships end every day. It doesn't matter. It's not worth losing yourself to these relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
and I kudos myself because in all of my other relationships, I struggled to get out of them. Like it really was like, oh, how do I get out? With this last relationship, it was like, I'm done. Please give me my keys. Please get out of my space. And you still want to come around? Bam, let me move somewhere else to totally remove you from my life. Because now I'm like, I'm not willing to get rid of who I am as a person. I'm not willing to
Mm-hmm.
allow the damage that you're doing to me to keep following me. I had enough people do that to me. So exactly, Liz, I learned and I grew and I moved on from it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we can't always say that, right? Everybody doesn't have that ending, but I can honestly
Mm-hmm.
say I feel right now at this moment so much more peace. I feel so much more happier and genuine happy, right? Because I've been with this person all
Mm-hmm.
this time and I had happy moments, but I wasn't genuinely 100% happy because there was so many things and behaviors that were hurting me. I genuinely can say that I'm at peace, I'm happy, and I'm okay just being her mama and being by myself and,
Mm-hmm.
learning that what I always say to my friend, and she says to me all the time too, our mutual friend always says that I needed someone to complete me. Always. I was always searching for someone to complete me. Like I just always wanted that because my sisters are all
Mm-hmm.
married. They all have husbands that they've been with for years. And I was like, I feel like I'm the failure. And now I'm like, I'm not the failure and I don't need anyone to complete me. And that's the difference from the me now, from the me then. I
Mm-hmm.
needed someone to
Mm-hmm.
be there. Now I'm like, if you're in my life, you're only here to make it better for me because even without you, I am good. I'm paying my bills on my own. I'm taking care of myself on my
Mm-hmm.
own, and I'm a happier person. I couldn't say that back then. Like I got out of those
Mm-hmm.
relationships because I was scared and I left, but I still felt broken when I left. I still felt like, oh my God, but I need someone in my life. Now I'm like, I don't care if I'm with someone or not. Like I'm good.
Can I just put that out there again? Like you said, you stayed. Can you say that again? Why did you stay?
I stayed because I was afraid to fail yet again.
Uh-huh. And then now where are you?
I'm good. I don't need to be with anyone. I'm good. Like so
I
much
needed
better.
I needed you to say that out loud again because I think that sometimes people people think that you leave because you lost the love or you know what I mean? And in reality is let's be real, right? You probably still had love for these people when
Hmm.
you left.
Hmm.
Even after the physical abuse, like you
Hmm.
still had love for this person because we want, we want to see the best in people.
Yeah.
But you figured out, I don't need this. I don't need
Hmm.
this ish. You know what I mean? So I love that the audience is so engaged because we got some questions, Bill. So let's get into it, and let's make it real. I never want to put my hands on Christina, so don't let her fool y'all. I don't want to put my hands on Christina. I will tell you,
Imaginary.
for those of you, if you, I will say this to folks who like say sometimes I don't know what to do when I keep telling the person just walk away. I keep
Mhm.
telling the person don't do it. They fall again in the same hole. There's actually a really good poems, and I think it's called Autobiography in Five Stanzas. If it's not that, I'm gonna find it, send it to Chrissy so she could post it. But it's basically that someone walks down a street, they see a hole, they fall in it. They get out of the hole, they walk back down the same street, they see the hole, they fall back in it again. They walk back down the same street, they see the hole, they go around the hole, look in, and fall back into it. They see the street again, they walk down the street, they jump over the hole but fall in it. They go to the street again and decide, I don't go down that street anymore in my life and never fall in that hole again. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like that is what our lives are. It's like a trial and error where we try different things. And that's what you're describing right now.
Mhm.
You never said, oh, I'm going to go in and I hope this one's going to be better. You're going in with a kind heart. You're hoping that this is going to be a good relationship, looking for fulfillment, looking for
Mhm.
an equal. And then you
Mhm.
see something's off and you kind of walk away. But you know, I can talk. So I'm going to shut up now so that we can get into some of these questions. So let's go with this question. Did you feel that your insecurities held you back from moving on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier on the line, my my up and down issues with my weight definitely held me back because I had relationships and people in my ear constantly comparing me to other women, telling me that other women they were cheating with other women because their bodies looked the way that they wanted. And then like I would go out and see these women and I would see how they were thin and they had abs and they looked great. And they would say, you don't look like her. That's why, I cheated and that's why I did what I did.
Mm,
And I was so insecure about me that I thought, okay, well, at least he comes home to me and I still have him. Because if I don't look like her, if I leave him, I'm going to be right back where I am because people are looking for people like her. People are looking for women that are shaped like her. And that was a lot that was like what is that? A theme. They always say there's a
mhm,
common theme in
mhm,
these shows. That was a
and
common
patterns.
theme pattern in every relationship I was in. My weight gain, whether it was up or down, was always something that they knew I struggled with. So it was something they always poked at. You need to lose weight. You need to look better. You need to the point where even in the last maybe past year or so, I have held myself from going places or being out. And now I'm very open with love, shouldn't hurt, and I go out and I do what I have to. But social things like dances or different places where I would get dressed up and gussied up, I have steered myself from going to. I'm in that bed and people call me and invite me and I won't go because I'm embarrassed that I've gained weight or I felt some way. And I'm very honest and I'm saying this so everyone knows this is still a struggle. And I say this because I want people to know that I do this show and I do my organization and I am 110% behind what I do. But I want people to know who are watching and feel like, oh, but I don't feel great. You're not alone in that. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not cured and I'm not perfect. I've had that struggle too. And I think that that's why what we do every week and we get on here is so important because it is showing people that, damn, she goes through the same thing I go through. Like I'm dealing with it
Mhm.
too. So I probably went far off, but yes, a lot of my insecurities kept me
No,
where I
okay.
was because I was so fearful. One, because they were telling me, if you leave me, you didn't lose any weight. Like
Nobody.
he's going to cheat on you too. He's
Yeah.
not going to be happy with your weight either. So I was like, I might as well stay because you're with me, and instead of
Mhm.
moving on and yet again going through this again with someone who's not happy with my weight or my body and things like that.
Can I ask you a question? Do you feel like there was so we have a love bucket, right? And in the love bucket people pour into us, our friends, our families, our partners. Do you feel like the manipulation with the words were like what you just described, but then a day or two later, you know how like after the movies always show, and the things that, like, after they beat you, then they bring you the flowers and the I love you baby and I'm sorry, I'm never going to do it again. Did you get the same with the words? Did you get the
Yeah.
same, like, after I told you you look like heck and you look like una vaca, like now it's like, oh my god, you're the most beautiful woman in the world. I would
Yeah.
never.
All the time. One of my abusers would talk to the women that he cheated with about me and my insecurities. And when those women would want to confront me, that's what they would use. Like they would inbox me and argue with me, and they'd be like, well, he doesn't, he's with me and not with you because you're fat, or you don't even turn him on anymore because you gained so much weight. And I never got angry at them. I felt bad because I was like, wow, he's manipulating you as much as he's manipulating me. Like he's manipulating you enough that you're hurting me because you think that what you have is like great and you don't see it. But he would manipulate them and then they would manipulate me with my weight too. So it was like two people. So I had him at
Mm-hmm.
home and I had the woman he's cheating with inboxing me, telling me that I'm fat, and she was getting a kick out of it. She's laughing at me through these messages. Um, and then I'd come back to him like, do you realize that she wrote to me and said exactly what you said to me? She said that you told her that I discussed you. She told me that you told her that I'm fat and I'm nasty. And it would be like, are you serious? You believe her? Like, I never said that. Christina, you're beautiful. Why would I still be here? I love you. Like, of course I'm with you. Look at all these years we've been together. I love you. 2 days ago, I was fat to you. But now that you
Mm-hmm.
know that someone else is telling me that you said that to them, it's like, they're lying to you. You're letting them lie. You're letting them play with your head and you're falling for it. I love you. You're beautiful. That's why I'm still with you. So, oh my God. Emotional abuse is just like physical abuse. It's the same thing. They go through making you feel terrible and then realizing it hurts
Mm-hmm.
you to, oh my God, no, but you're beautiful. And I love you. That's why I'm here. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for all of that. We have a really good, important question, and I think we both should answer it. You from a survivor's perspective, and me from a mental health perspective. But rather than us going on a tangent that I know we both can go on, I think that it would be important if we can focus on what are two things for you that helped you walk away, right? And then I will share what are two things that maybe are consistently necessary for survivors to help them walk away. And then we can share more. But just to kind of, so the question is, how do you walk away?
Okay. So, how do you walk away? I think it does. It depends on the person and what stage you're at in that relationship abuse. I put relationship slash abuse. Um, because for myself, how do you walk away? I walked away from that moment. In that moment, um, I had so many moments, right? So let me just narrow it down to my last one so that we don't go crazy with a bunch of them. So my last moment, I walked away because I knew that it was better to be alone than damage or further damage myself than what I have in the past, if that makes sense. So I have already been damaged by so many individuals. My last relationship, I felt like I have to go because I've already been through so much in my past. It's not worth it to me anymore to continue to add on to that. I'm in a place where I want to heal and I don't want to keep on adding to that. Like I already feel pain about this. I already feel pain about that. I'm not going to keep staying with you so that you can keep adding to that. Like my positive bucket was empty and my negative bucket was overflowing. And it was like, it wasn't worth it to me to keep staying there and allowing the negativity to continue to keep me down. So I had to walk away. Another huge reason, she said too, another huge reason was I have a child. Most importantly, I have a daughter. And at that point, it was important for me to say, was it more important to stay because I was worried about failing? Or was it more important to me to show her mommy's not dealing with this anymore so that she knows right from wrong for her future? When you have a 14, 15, she's going to be 16 now, but when you have a 13, 14, 15-year-old telling you to your face, mom, this relationship is bad and you got to go, you got to go because your
Mm-hmm.
child is telling you yourself. So for me, I didn't want to, I didn't want to continue to add on to what I already was feeling. And two, I just couldn't allow my daughter to continue to live in that negative space because she has a lot of
Mm-hmm.
growing to do too. And I'm her first example. So I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to go from the perspective of the clinical and the mental health world. And I like that you talked about children. So I'm going to speak for those who have children and then for those who don't have children. So, for those who have children, your children know what is going on. As a mental health provider for children, I work with adolescents, mostly between the ages of 11 and 16. They talk to me about how they hear mommy yelling and screaming, daddy yelling and screaming at mommy, and it goes both ways because
Mm.
um and or my daddy hit my mom, and they know, and for so many years they grew up with that from little. They could tell you how old they were the first time they remember experiencing that with their parent. And it's affected the way they interact with people. It affects the way they interact even with their parents because they don't trust that I'm not next, right? A lot of kids are fearful of that. And with that being said, I'm going to talk for everyone, whether you have kids or not. The way you walk away is by taking on the fear and taking it with you. And what I mean by that is the fear is going to keep you stagnant. The fear is going to keep you in that house. It's going to keep you in that relationship because you're so afraid of being alone, of dying, of losing everything, of not being anything. There's a fear, right? Christina always talks, and all of her survivors who have been on the show, they were scared. Scared means fear, and fear keeps you stagnant. So the first thing I would say is that stop trying to not be scared and instead take the fear with you. Like, say to yourself, I'll be afraid, but I'm gonna be afraid over here where I'm safe with my family member or my friend or a shelter somewhere where
Mhm.
at least I know there are people who have my back. People that I aren't even my blood have my back. And
Mhm.
that's why we always talk about the hotline. Like, there are services in the community. There are people who are willing to support. You probably
Mhm.
have people in your circle who's like, you can stay here as long as you want. You need me, call me at whatever time. So I think it's
Mhm.
about knowing that the fear isn't going to go away until you address it head on. Like, until you say, I'm afraid, and I'm afraid, whatever I'm afraid, dot, 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 fill in the blank. And that's not going to go away by staying
Mhm.
here. But it will eventually go away if I remove myself from this and then I deal with it in peace.
Mhm.
Christina said that word, and I love that she said it earlier. When you find your peace, you can then see the world differently because you're not living in that fear.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you can see the fear. Listen, people don't drive because they're scared of being in an accident.
Mhm.
People
Mhm.
don't leave their house because they're afraid that something bad's going to happen to them. And keeps you very stagnant. Like, fear will keep you like stuck in the mud. Like, you have concrete as feet, concrete blocks as feet.
Mhm.
So I would say the way to walk away is to think about that fear as just part of you, and you need to take it with you, whatever
Mhm.
that looks like for you,
Mhm.
and to ask for help if you feel like this is something you can't do on your own. Because there's people
Mhm.
who are strong and do it on their own, and then there's
Mhm.
other people who go, I can't do this. I just can't. There's no way I'm doing this on my own.
Right.
Any other thoughts on that before we keep going on this conversation that's getting really good?
No, I mean, I agree with you. Fear is what held a lot of us back, not just myself, but just in individuals that I speak to constantly about love shouldn't hurt. They're always like, I stayed because I was so scared. I think fear is our biggest thing. But if we put that fear aside and we say, I know that this is going to be scary, I know that it's going to be tough, it's when you're on the outside looking back, you're like, wow, I punched fear in the face because oftentimes, even with like new jobs or like I stayed in a job that I didn't like for a long, I mean, that I'm sorry, that I loved for a long time. I wasn't getting paid anything. I could hardly make my bills, living check to check. But because I was so scared of what a new job would be like and being around new people, I stayed there. So I think we let fear hold us back from a lot in life. And
Hmm.
in domestic violence, you see it all the time. We're more fearful of what's to come than to walk away from what we're already going through. So I agree.
And you're welcome, Eva, anytime. So another thing that I would say is that shame is another reason that
Mm,
keeps people places, right? And I'm going to
yeah.
say this. So being on this show with Christina, I've had, survivors or victims who are in it, who are in that mud, who are looking to leave, and they reach out, and she gives them my information, and they reach out, and I say to them, are you ready for this? Are you ready for that? And they don't. And I said, well,
Mm-hmm.
take your time, take your time. And we're talking mental health. We're not even talking about leaving. And
Yeah.
I said, well, take your time. When you figure out what you want to do, just let me know. And they will never reach back out. Right. And
Mhm.
then I'll see them at one of your events or something. And they're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, oh my God, no, not at all. And there's like this shame of like,
Yeah.
they let me down. And I'm like, never, 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 never. Like, this is a choice that is a personal choice, and
Yeah.
nobody should force you to do it. So if I were
Absolutely.
to force you, how am I any different than the abusers who are mentally and emotionally abusing you, making you feel bad? Like, you should have been to therapy already. You should have been left. No, we don't do that. We don't do that here. We do is that whenever you're ready, knock, knock, text, text, we're just here. Like, whenever you are ready.
Yeah.
I always tell my people, my close people, and Christina knows that I'm a tough love kind of lady. And what that means is I'm not going to baby you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna say to you, you ready? You ready? I'm here. You not ready? Then tato, like, we wait.
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not like, it's okay, honey. I mean, I have that in me. Like people think like I'm not like this with my clients, but I do hold them accountable to what they say they want to do because if
Mm-hmm.
not, I'm enabling the behavior of not taking those action steps that they want to take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. And you have to be ready for anything in life. You have to be ready. And but let's talk about that real quick, Christina, right? Did you know you were ready? Or were you just fed up and then ready became accessible right away?
Well, with my previous relationship, exactly that. It was like, all right, whatever. I just got to do this because I'm tired of it. I'm sorry, because I was ready. I was like, I can't do this no more. I'm ready. I gotta go. He has to go. Here's your engagement ring. Take it. You gotta go. Why? No, just take it. I'm done. This one was I was fed up. I was just like,
Mhm.
I'm so done with this relationship. I'm so done with the BS. You just gotta go. So I gotta be ready because I'm done. I can't do
Mhm.
this anymore.
I will say though that what Liz is maybe saying is that you have to be ready to deal with the consequences that come
Oh
from
yeah.
you walking away because there are consequences.
Yes,
But
there
here's
are.
the thing. I believe 1000% I will put all of my great knowledge and love that I have in my heart to say that when you make a decision that's true to you have to go through the trenches to get to that other side. And the trenches doesn't mean staying. The trenches means going through whatever comes from walking away from that and what comes from what you lose. We've done shows of collateral damage. You lose friendships, you lose family members, you
Mm-hmm.
lose jobs, you lose homes,
Mm-hmm.
cars when you make these types of decisions. But what's on the other side for you, that big P, that big peace sign, and that control of your life and that self-worth and that self-love is going to be so much more worth it, but you do got to walk through the hot coal to get there. Like it's not easy.
Yes.
All right, so Yvette said an abuse from a narcissist is the worst. Girl, preach. Emotionally, mentally, they never take accountability and flip the blame. Definitely. Nothing's wrong with me. What's wrong with you? I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing great. I'm here supporting you, giving you a house, giving you a car, and that's how you appreciate me. Then I start second guessing, like it's me. Yeah, like oh my god, he did give me a house. He did give me a car. Oh my god, what am I doing? Oh my god, I have to show them that I love them, and I know it's not me, but mentally it messes with you. So here's what I got to say about that, and then I'm gonna let you
Mm-hmm.
talk, my love. Is that uh, um, a lot of these underlying messages were there before those folks came into our life,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know Christina said it earlier, right? Sometimes these messages come from childhood traumas, childhood experiences, and we carry them with us, and you work through them. But then someone comes in and scoops you up and fills those needs that you have, and then through those needs also attack your vulnerabilities, and
Mm-hmm.
by attacking your vulnerabilities then say, because I came here to make you better, like look at how much better your life is with me in it. So that's a you problem, not a me problem. And it's hard to recognize it when you yourself are struggling with those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
So, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, wowzers. So this is one of the memories that is biggest for me. So first of all, I continue to see memes constantly, men putting up memes, and a big one that I saw just recently, and I just was like, wowzers. The meme was one that a guy put together, and it said, "It looks like in 2022, women learn the definition of narcissism. I hope they also learn the definition of crazy." And when I read it, I was instantly pissed, right? Because in my most recent experience, that's exactly what the situation was. He was a narcissist, is, whatever the word you want to make. And he would absolutely make me feel like I was the major problem, to the point where he would argue with me. He would make me upset. He would do everything in his power to piss me off and make me feel like I was nothing, to the point where I was so angry and he wouldn't stop, that he got me so far that now I'm angry and I'm going off, and he would pull out his camera and start to record me. And he would say as he's recording me, "Oh, but she says that she's good and she's great, but look at her, she's crazy. Something's wrong with her, folks. Look at her." And he would record
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's crazy. And for a long time, I was super embarrassed, right? And I was scared because I'm like, what if they show these videos? And then I learned, right? that those videos are not going to do anything if people see them. They're not going to weigh upon my character as a person because you can hear the other individual in the camera calling me crazy, antagonizing me. So now it's like you can show them to whoever you want to show them to because I know that I'm of sound mind. I know that there's nothing wrong with me. I know that you antagonized me to get me there. I know that you made me feel like I was crazy. And you use that word often because you knew that it was a
Mm-hmm.
trigger. You knew it was a trigger for me.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew that if you call me crazy, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna be crazy because
Mm-hmm.
you're provoking me. And for years, he would tell me, like, stop using the word narcissist. You're always using that damn word, narcissist. Do you even know what it means? And I'm like, do you? Do you know what that word means? Like, you're constantly making me look like I'm the one that's wrong here, but you're doing everything that's wrong. Like, you're the one hurting me. You're the
Mm-hmm.
one doing these things. But he was so passive aggressive. It was like, really? Am I really hurting you? Like, are
Mm-hmm.
you sure? Or is it because you're such a victim and you're crazy? So and then it would make me sit there like, am I? Like,
Yeah,
is
like
it
stop
really?
gaslighting me.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
narcissism, I think, is one of the bigger issues that us women have with men nowadays, but we don't realize what it is. You need to be women. I'm telling you, men, women, we all need to be educated on what narcissism is because people say, "Oh, that's such a word that's used now," but it is absolutely the truth. People use it because they
Yeah.
know that they can. Narcissist is listen. There's a lot of narcissists walking around this world, women and men.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Thank you for saying that right there. Women and men. I think that it's important that even though like domestic violence has this umbrella of it's just like women against I mean men against women. I'm crazy and I get recorded to be reminded. That's crazy, right? That would be the definition of that's actually
Yes.
insanity, but let's not really go there. But I think it's important that when you are or aren't in a relationship, that you actually look at the relationships you have around you so that you get to see the signs of these narcissist folks because we have narcissist people around us. We have them at work. Just pay attention. Pay attention. You have them at work. You might have them in your circle of friends. There might be a person that you really don't interact with them very much because you're like, I don't really like the feelings I get from that person.
Mhm.
They're around us. So just be aware of them. The more we are aware of these things, the better you are at identifying them before you're so in that hole that it's hard to get out of it. And I
Yeah.
think that if anything, I say to any survivor of any type of abuse is that there's ways you can gain control back. There are ways that you can start to feel like this life that I have is mine, even when you're in the trenches, even when you're still in that relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, Christina, what you're sharing tonight is that while still going through an emotional and mental abusive relationship, you was running this show like nothing, como si na, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things that I've heard you say tonight that you've heard is the dicho in Spanish, es mejor estar sola que mal acompañada, right? It's best to be alone than to be with bad company,
Absolutely.
right? So I know there's some other comments. I see Marilyn said, well, let me read Liz's first. It's even worse when you're going through something major in your life and you're already drained physically, emotionally, and mentally. Yes, it is hard to protect yourself when you are already depleted. Oh, look at that. Oh my God. Yes, the same happened to me. Narcissism is real. There's one up above, Chrissy. The other
Mhm.
side is a relief. I thank God I had the strength to walk away and never look back. And I want that message to resonate with whoever is watching us tonight and understand that there are people on here who have walked away and are living a fantabulous life. I will never forget, there was someone on your show um, like last year that she shared like how she was in a very bad relationship and then she left it, found new love, and she's living her best life in Puerto Rico in a condo by the beach.
Mhm.
And I was like, I know that's right. Find your true love and go live your best life. All right. So other comments are he is
Oh wow.
watching me, watching this. I'm coming off and on. Thanks, lady. This was very eye-opening.
Wow.
Yes. Mariela, be safe
Mhm.
and we're here and remember the hotline you all always available it's always available 24/7
Absolutely.
um like a swan. We are composed, but inside we have a rush of emotions. Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is gonna be helpful for you guys, but we're gonna kind of start to wrap this up because we have made an hour mark. This time I get to be the last person to speak, and we're gonna like give Christina the stage. But before we get off and you give your words, I would say, what is one thing, right, that you want to leave? Not your speech you're going to give now when I leave you, but what is one thing that all of these beautiful supporters and followers that are on here tonight, you would want them to know about you and about what you've gained through your experiences and through Love Shouldn't Hurt?
Absolutely. The one thing I want them to know is that I was, and I can say most recently, I was right where you are. There's so many of us, and let me say this. There was a reason for today's show, and the reason behind that is because I think that there are women out there, so many of us, who constantly live through these forms of relationships. I love you too, Mariela. And we go through them so much, and it's so normalized for us because, like I was in the past, I thought it was just, that's just his temperament, that's just how he speaks to people. And now that I'm in the position that I'm in, I realize and I can see it and I know exactly what it is. So what I want you to take from this is that I was there, and even though I was running this organization and still dealing with this situation, I've left it and I've moved on, which means that you can grow from these situations. And even though you feel like you're failing at the relationship or you're walking away from this relationship and, oh my God, you must be the problem, you're not the problem. And if you're able enough and you're able bodied enough to say, listen, I got to get away from this, I'm going to get away from this. The other side, like Marilyn says, is so peaceful and so just heartwarming. Like, I go to bed and I have no worries anymore. I go to bed and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
worrying about who you're sleeping with and can you bring me a disease. I'm not worried about who's in my inbox yelling at me, calling me fat. I don't have to deal with those things anymore. And I feel at peace. Was it easy to get here? It was not. My journey has been a very long one. And it's probably been a long one for you. But if you take anything away from what we've said tonight, take away the fact that you can be at your most brokenness and you can be at your worst, what you feel in that moment, but you're never ever going to get out of that unless you put the energy and you say, listen, this is hard, but I got to just jump across that rope real quick. It's just this close. It's not far. Like, I thought that I needed to like leave Philly to get away from it. No, it was this close. I just needed to say, I'm going to open this door and I'm walking away. And all of you can do that because you know what? Sometimes we focus on he's not hitting me, so I'm okay. But he's doing
Yeah.
more damage just by calling you fat, just by telling you that you're not worthy, just by telling you I'm with you because no one else will be. Someone else will be there. There's going to always be someone who finds you beautiful and finds you important and special. You just have to take that step to say, I'm leaving you here and I'm jumping here. And I'm telling you this with all honesty that had I not ran this organization, had I not been this person that sits here every week, I probably would still be in that relationship. But because I've learned so much and I've sat up here telling people, I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, get your shit together. And I did.
Mhm. So, with that, I want to say to you, thank you so much for not only starting Love Shouldn't Hurt, but also showing your vulnerability week after week, sharing your story week after week, and coming in and even being raw about things that are like recent in your life. You know, you just like Dorothea says, I'm so much stronger than I was. You are so much stronger than you were. You're saying that tonight. You're sharing how you've learned from your experiences, and that also that it's doable. That just because you fall out and fall in and maybe fall out and fall in, that you said it, every relationship you learn something new about yourself and you became stronger and better. So with that being said, guys, we have come to the end of our show tonight. So I'm going to leave Christina on the screen and I'm going to let her talk to y'all, and then I'm going to come back and then we're both going to say goodbye to you together. So Christina, the floor is yours.
This is so weird. I've never been like the person who's like back there. I like it. Hold on, because Mariela did put up a comment and I don't want to ignore her. When you can't get away, once he tells me he is leaving, I beg and make I apologize for his wrongs. So that is something huge. I want to get into that. I have to bring my Amanda back for that. So she's pretty much saying that once he says he's leaving, she begs and apologizes. Mariela, I've been there. I don't know what Amanda has to say, but I've been there. Okay. And I'm going to be so transparent right now because at this point, it doesn't matter. I have literally ran outside in my nightgown that you could see right through to beg this man to stay with me. I have been on my knees in the middle of the street apologizing to this man after he's been out cheating on me with two, three women in the same night. And I know that he has. Okay. And he is leaving me, and I've gone out there and I've begged him. I've been there. Mariela, you are so much better than that. I was so much better than that. And I know that right now you may not realize that, but you will realize that because I look back now at that time and I realize how much more I was worth and how he wasn't even worth me going through the pain that I've been through. This man has recorded me crying to him, begging him. This man has recorded me pulling out my own hair, losing my mind. For what? I got nothing from it in the long run. And all I felt in the end was he left and I still stayed there crying, which I'm sure you've probably felt at some point. Mariela, stop saying I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for his wrongs. His wrongs are his, they're not yours. You don't need to make the apology. If he doesn't want to make that apology, then it's time for you to start seeing that little string that's there and jumping over it. You got to get to that other side. I don't know if you have something to say about that, Amanda, but that made me like, oh, I've been there. Oop, you are muted.
Sorry, there's one thing I want to say to you guys, right? You guys are one of the most resilient human beings in the world. And what I mean by that, if you can survive, I think Yvette said 30 years. If you can survive 6 years, 8 years, 30 years, 15 years with someone constantly putting you down, demeaning you, making you feel like you're not worthy, what do you think you're going to do when someone's actually saying you are fine, you are great, and that someone is you and nobody demeaning you, and you keep filling your love bucket? Remember how we talked about the love bucket? And you keep taking care of yourself. You will be all right. Mariela, I don't know if you were on here when I talked earlier and I said, take the fear with you. He's going to leave, and I bet if you don't run after him, he's going to be right back. He's going to be right back, yep. Right? Because yep. Even all the women, I'm going to use Chrissy's example, all the women he was cheating with, clearly none of them wanted him because he was coming right back to her, right? It was un pasatiempo. It was fun. It was fun to hang with you because he was showing his representative, right? But nobody wanted to keep him because if not, it would have been real easy to get rid of him. So I'm going to say this to you, Mariela. Let go when you are ready to let go, but know that you have survived the life you live right now. So the life that's waiting for you, girl, you're going to kill it. That's the only way I can say it. You're going to kill it because you're going to be at peace. You're going to find yourself not even knowing what to do with the time and the space and the peace that you have. You're going to be like, well, what did I do with this time? Nobody's telling me not to go. And you're going to be like, do I want to go? Do I not want to go? Like, do I wear this? Do I not wear this? Like, it's okay that you really look crazy laughing and crying. This is what this show is about. It's about bringing out all these emotions. Like, it happens all the time. But all I'm going to say to you is that you have a village. You just have to be ready. And when I say ready, we've used this word a lot tonight. It doesn't mean like everything lines up and everything feels perfect. It means that you are ready to deal with what's on the other side. And you have a village that's willing to help you. Their Love Shouldn't Hurt is here. The DV hotline is here. The shelters, the community centers, probably your family and friends. They are just waiting for you to seriously say, I'm out. And they'll be there with you. Or he's out. Because if it's your house, girl, if you tell me your house is on this deed and you better kick that man, I will come change your locks. Like, just, hello. All right. So I'm going to stop preaching. But everyone, I just want you guys to know that we have to do this together. Like, you do not need to do this alone. Love Shouldn't Hurt wouldn't be as successful if nobody cared, if you guys weren't signing up. She changed the day on y'all. It's a Wednesday. It's hump day, and y'all here. See? Girl, let me know when you're ready to change the locks. I am good. I am a single woman who has been taking care of myself for many years. I do stuff by myself. People all the time tell me, how you do that? I said, YouTube. Just like the boys do it. The boys don't know how to do everything. They YouTube. So I figure it out. But anyways, so because if not, estamos aquí otra media hora. So I'm going to once again
Go to the back.
say thank you. Yes, to everyone who's on here. If you are spiritual, connect with your spirituality. Start telling yourself that you love yourself on the low. Nobody knows what you tell yourself. Talk to yourself, write to yourself, send those positive messages to yourself because they will build you up. You know what I mean? Yes, your family misses you, girl. I bet you if you show up, and I don't know, but this beautiful picture you got on here right
She's
now,
the
like, yes,
gorgeous.
like you are freaking amazing. You are a baddie upon baddie,
She
girl.
is a baddie. And you
So
got beautiful daughters who are watching, Mariela.
yeah, and here's the thing, like we don't need to do this alone. People are just waiting for you to say I'm ready, right?
Mhm.
And people are there to support. So here's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna be back next week. Well, I'm not gonna be back. I'm not the
We will
special
be
guest
back.
next week.
Next week we
But Miss
celebrating
Christina,
Christmas.
next week, Miss Christina gonna be here, probably drinking her coquito in the cup or all that stuff. So I want y'all to keep watching Love Shouldn't Hurt, and I'm gonna give for just a couple minutes. I'm gonna give her back the screen so she can say goodbye to y'all, and then I'm gonna come back as your host,
Fill us
your
with knowledge.
gracious fit, and say goodbye. So Christina, the floor is all yours.
Okay, me again. Before I go into that, I want to say, Mariela, I've known you forever. I love you, mi amor. If you need help, if you need anything from me, you still have my number. It's the same. But if you don't inbox me, I'll give it to you if you don't have it. We can definitely work through this together. I know that you have beautiful girls and a gorgeous little boy, and they love you and they need to see their mama strong. So keep on pushing, love. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I appreciate you guys. You guys are always here, supportive. I love that you interact as much as you do. You guys are amazing. So I just want to, if you didn't get flowers tonight, whoever's watching, te voy a dar los flores. You guys are beautiful, amazing, fenomenal for being here. As Amanda stated, we changed the day and you're all still here. So I appreciate you. Listen, if you feel like you're in a situation where you may not be hit, but you don't feel happy every day, you spend most nights crying, you spend most nights waiting by that window, wondering where they are, you're getting abused with their words, they're constantly making you feel less than you're a person, it's time to say goodbye. And I know that that's not the easiest thing to do. And sometimes we think that's easy for her to say, she's already gone. It was a hard journey. I'm 42 years old and I'm 4 years in with this organization and I still struggle with that. So if I can do it, you can absolutely do it. You don't have to be the strongest person to get out of these relationships. You just have to want better for yourself. And I say this to my daughter all the time. You just have to want better for yourself. And I'll tell you this much. My daughter doubted me as well. I'll be 100% with that too. You just don't understand how much when I said, I'm leaving, she would say, I didn't believe you really were. So you just need someone sometimes to push you. And sometimes it is our children who put us in our places and remind us that we deserve more. So to all the people who are watching and wondering, how do they get out of it? The only way to get out of it is to know that you deserve better. Know that you can do this, even if you have to do it by yourself. It's not easiest, but it can be accomplished. In that, I want to remind folks that we have our Love Gala that will be happening soon. We're super excited to bring that to you guys again. It is March 13. We are super excited, and the tickets have gone live on Eventbrite. So check out our Love Gala, purchase your tickets because when they're sold out, they're sold out, and I can't pay for no more people, y'all. It has to be my number. So make sure you buy those tickets before they're sold out. March 18th, we will be at the Waterfall Room on South Hampton Road. We will have DJ Dro, and we have plenty of amazing sponsors. We will have our honorees. We will have a great time. We have performances. We have so much going on. If you didn't go to one of ours before, make it to this one. March 18th. Our tickets are on Eventbrite and they are active. We have our holiday gift drive still going on until next Tuesday. Thank you so much for the individuals who have donated monetarily. We have bought so many amazing gifts. Thank you for those folks who have bought us gifts. All of those women who have donated clothing for our mothers who have been relocated. Anything you are willing to give. If you are not comfortable with monetary, believe me, we are okay with that. You can send us the gifts yourself, meet up with me, whatever you want. Remember, we are supporting 4 families this year who have been relocated. The mothers are not working, and we want to make sure that them and their children have a great holiday. So join us in that initiative. I'm going to bring Miss Amanda back so she can help us close us out because I'm not the host. She is. I was just reminding y'all. Next week, people, vamos a tener coquito, instruments, and some music because we are celebrating Christmas next Tuesday. So join us next week for our show where we'll be celebrating the holiday that I love most. Miss Amanda, you can come back now.
Oh, well, thank you, my gracious, invitee. Um, so, guys, real quick, I just did a donation to Love Shouldn't Hurt on my Cash App. So I sometimes
Mm,
remember that it is really easy for you to feel empowered, is sometimes to just give and to support someone else, even when you're not ready. So you might not be ready to take the step, but someone else is going to be ready. So now I'm going, Christina, you gotta go. It's my
oh,
time.
it's her turn.
Goodbye. Do we think? Girl, she don't know how to let go of control. This is my show tonight, my peoples, and I am so honored that she asked me to do this because I think that sometimes, you know, it's nice to have some component that is connected to the mental health because of the fact that domestic violence affects all parts of of who you are, your emotional being, your mental being, and your how you feel about yourself, your physical being. So here's what I'm going to say to you guys tonight. For those of you who watch, you know that my favorite word is love, right? Because I believe that if you love yourself and if you love others, but you love yourself the most first, you will do things that are good for you. So I'm going to say this to the ladies that were on here and talking about wanting to leave and having children. Your kids are watching you. Your kids need to know that you love yourself enough that you want to leave. But if you're not there yet and you love them and they are your strength to get you to leave, then walk away for them because it's going to make their life better. A lot of times, folks stay for the kids, and the kids are actually not okay with what's happening, and they're better off once you leave. And I'm glad Chrissy's not on here, but you guys will hear her because she talks about all the time about how well her daughter is doing in the situation that she's in now versus staying because her daughter needs two parents in the home and things like that. Remember, take care of yourselves. Write yourself love notes. Don't wait for your own flowers. Go buy yourself your own flowers. I buy myself flowers at least twice a month because I love them and I don't need to wait for nobody to buy them for me. Go on a date with yourself. And you have a break, go to a lunch break and drink your coffee and watch your favorite thing, watch the birds, go by the river, whatever it is. Start doing things for yourself that you are comfortable doing. Go to the movies, matinees, Sundays, best time. 1 o'clock, I think 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock. You go, you watch your favorite movie. You don't gotta worry about nobody asking you for your snacks, nobody telling you. These little acts of kindness for yourself would lead you to find that time and space to realize that you deserve these things, not because of anybody else, but because of yourself. So to end tonight's show, and mental, verbal, and emotional abuse does exist. You do not deserve for anyone in your life to speak to you in a demeaning way. And if they feel like that's comfortable to do, maybe you just need to step away from them. But in the meantime, start telling yourself the kind words and start loving yourself. So I'm going to bring Christina back. And I'm going to end the show by saying we really love having you guys here. Like, I can't even say that enough. And I'm not even here every week. I'm not even here every
Mhm.
month anymore. You know what I mean? But I
She
want you
busy.
guys to
She
know that
busy.
it's
You busy.
okay,
You
but I
busy.
come when I can. I come when I can. I want you guys to know that we really appreciate your support of Love Shouldn't Hurt in any which way
Mhm.
possible, and that we hope to see you at any of the events that are coming up. And if anything, and if you have topics and ideas that you would love to have us talk about, and it might not just be me, it might be Christina and another guest, please feel free to inbox Love Shouldn't Hurt and let them know. But as
Yeah.
always, thank you, ladies. We love you guys. And thank you for sharing your vulnerability with us tonight. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody. See you next week.